Hello, and welcome to Williams Mullins Benefits Companion, a podcast that helps employers navigate the complex legal challenges of managing their employee benefit plans. I'm your host, Bryden DeWitt, and today I'll be joined by special guest Burl Ball, Principal Financial Advisor at CapTrust. Welcome back to the Benefits Companion, Burl.
Thanks, Bryden. Great to be here again.
I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts on this Department of Labor compliance release that was issued regarding cryptocurrencies. It was compliance release 2022-01. And a compliance release is somewhat of a new concept for the Department of Labor. It's not really a proposed regulation or a regulation or an advisory opinion. It's the Department of Labor expressing its thoughts and concerns regarding topics, and in this case, cryptocurrencies. And in this compliance release, the Department of Labor really outlines some reasons that plan fiduciaries should be really careful about including cryptocurrencies in their employee benefit plan lineup, a 401k plan investment lineup. And I suppose this is coming about because of the increasing popularity of cryptocurrencies. Plan sponsors may be hearing from their participants that they're interested in investing their 401k assets in cryptocurrencies. And so the Department of Labor issued this guidance of the department's thoughts and concerns regarding cryptocurrencies. What thoughts do you have, Burl, about this guidance and investments in cryptocurrencies with plan assets in general?
Thanks, Bryden. And this is one of those times when doing this type of compliance release is kind of unusual. I think we've only maybe seen one or two of these issued before. So I think in and of itself, it probably says something about why and what the Department of Labor was trying to accomplish. And one of the things that kind of leapt out at me was they used some really strong wording in offering their guidance. Guidance is perhaps too soft a word in this case. Let me give you some of the phrases that they use, because I think they kind of say a lot about what they were thinking. So it starts out by saying that the DOL has some serious concerns about cryptocurrency in a 401k plan. It goes on to encourage plan sponsors to use, and these are quotes, extreme care in evaluating what is deemed to be a dangerous investment. So dangerous, extreme, serious. I think those words, if you read this, really go on to say to you, yep, we're really concerned about cryptocurrencies in a 401k plan.
The Department of Labor kind of walks up to the line of saying you shouldn't allow these investments without saying it. But the guidance, is pointing out that as plan fiduciaries, if you're a retirement plan committee, you're a fiduciary that selects the investment options for your 401k plan. With respect to any investment that you're going to add to the plan's lineup, you have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that it's a prudent investment and it's in the best interest of plan participants and beneficiaries. And so when the Department of Labor is saying that they have serious concerns and you should take extreme care, it's kind of telling you okay, you can do that analysis, but we're telling you as a Department of Labor that we have very strong concerns about these investment options.
If you weren't scared enough already by doing this, they go on to say that they're going to be investigating plan sponsors who choose to use cryptocurrencies. And of course, no one wants to be investigated. And they go on to say that they're going to hold you accountable if you do. And so I don't think anyone wants the DOL to investigate them. I don't think they want to be held accountable. And so all in all, I think the message is that cryptocurrency is a highly speculative investment. It is clearly difficult to evaluate. Who knows if benefits can be paid easily out of a cryptocurrency. That is, again, it's 2 pages, basically a very strong language that makes the level of caution pretty high. If you were a typical committee fiduciary looking at investments on your normal quarterly meeting, this is one of those big red stoplights that you see in your report, far more than just what I would call a standard caution. And remember, Bryden, this came just a few days after the White House issued a guidance, what they call an executive order, and in that case, that says that all of the agencies, not just the Department of Labor, should start looking at cryptocurrency. And then just a few days later, here comes the Department of Labor. They were pretty ready, it seems, to issue this compliance release even before probably the White House issued their executive order. So you're so right. I think it goes all the way back to fiduciaries needing to use a prudent standard, protect against risk, large losses. It goes all the way back to our ERISA standards. So whether you're an ERISA covered plan or a non-ERISA covered plan, and you want to protect against risks and large losses, ERISA never says you have to make participants a lot of money, although participants would love that you do. It says you have to protect against risk and large losses. So it seems to me that if you're looking at this as a potential, what I call core investment, those are those maybe 11 to 20 investments you put in your plan that include equities and fixed income and an asset allocation fund, et cetera. Maybe core investment menu is not the place for cryptocurrency based on what the Department of Labor has said. But this time they go even one step further, and this is a bit unusual because normally they'll be speaking about core investments, but here they actually go on to talk about self-directed brokerage.
All right.
And that is something that I haven't seen a lot specifically about. And I know, there are different legal opinions about whether plan sponsors need to take a role in looking at what is in a self-directed brokerage. Some plan sponsors offer it, some don't. Bryden, I'd be interested in your thoughts too about where you see self-directed brokerage, and then we can talk about how it relates to cryptocurrencies and other types of unusual investments.
Well, I think in general that there's a little bit more risk with self-directed brokerage windows because the plan sponsor, the fiduciaries have less control over what is being offered and what's being endorsed. But I think in view of the Department of Labor's guidance on cryptocurrency, one of the insights that I got from the guidance is that cryptocurrency is somewhat new. Participants may not completely understand it, and it's unlike mutual funds. It's a completely different type of investment. And the Department of Labor makes the point that if you include it in your plan, whether a core or available through a brokerage window, it's kind of like the plan fiduciaries, the plan sponsor is saying cryptocurrencies are okay. So a participant may have had doubts about cryptocurrencies, but when it's included in the plan lineup or it's made available by the fiduciaries who are responsible for running the 401k plan and selecting the investment options. That's an endorsement of this type of investment. And for the reasons outlined in the guidance, it's very speculative. It's not the type of investment that you really can be held in a trust. It's held in the cyberspace. So if you lose your password, you can't access it. And so that's, I think, part of what the Department of Labor is getting at, and perhaps why the guidance is expanded into brokerage windows, is that notion of just endorsing cryptocurrency as an appropriate investment for, not the type of cryptocurrency, but just that the concept itself is appropriate and a stable enough type of investment that plan participants should feel comfortable putting their retirement savings there.
And they go on to say that they're going to look at plan sponsors who do include them in self-directed brokerage. And I think for the most part, a lot of plan sponsors don't look at all at what's in a self-directed brokerage window. They figure only their most savvy investors are going to be there. And so why even explore what's in it? But this goes that little step farther that says, yeah, we're going to even look at you if you put it in a self-directed brokerage. Just a couple more comments. I think that this is all a continuum. Back in 2020, the Department of Labor put out some information about putting a private equity investment in a target date fund. And at that point, they said, well, it's probably okay to put a private equity in a target date investment because it doesn't matter. It's not a big part of it. But even then, they had to go back in about a year later and say, well, I didn't mean to say that it's okay to put private equity in a 401k plan. Maybe that's okay in pension plans, maybe it's okay in an endowment or a foundation, but you really shouldn't be putting private equity in that. And now we're also sitting here waiting for some final rules on ESG investing, another type of investing that is probably not a typical mutual fund. And that's kind of gone back and forth between administrations, whether it's the Trump administration, Biden administration has a little bit more favorable view. So we'll probably see some more favorable things about ESG investing, environmental, social, and governance. So from my thought is, to some degree, plan sponsors are kind of betwixt and between here, caught in the middle. Younger participants ask for different kinds of investments than maybe baby boomers did over time. And so rather than just traditional annuities, mutual funds, plan sponsors may think, well, I need to appeal to younger participants. So maybe I need to be looking at ESG, maybe I need to be looking at private equity. These are things my younger participants are asking me for. And after all, we really want them to be investing. So where do I go? I'm kind of caught in the middle. So my thought is the Department of Labor has said, understand, but you do this at your own risk, plan sponsor. And we are certainly not advocating it. In fact, use extreme care.
Right. So plan sponsors are feeling this pressure to make decisions on investment options that maybe they didn't have pressure before with ESG and cryptocurrency. And the Department of Labor is saying, well, fine, you may want to do that to attract participants and make your employees happy, but the ERISA fiduciary responsibility requirements apply. And don't forget that. And then in particular with cryptocurrency, the Department of Labor is extremely concerned about whether that's a prudent investment option.
Yeah. So as we get more regulations, especially about ESG coming down the pike, I would say it's all, as it always is in investments, it's all about documentation. Make sure you have the data, the documents, the information that you need to have made a prudent decision, and follow through from there.
Right. And if you allow cryptocurrency, be prepared to present that documentation because the Department of Labor has warned us that they're going to investigate. It's always been important to document, especially in this case.
I would agree. Thanks, Bryden.
Well, thank you, Burl, for joining us on the Benefits Companion. That'll wrap up our discussion. If listeners have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, please contact me. You can also visit our employee benefits page at williamsmullen.com/employee benefits. There you can find out more about our team as well as past episodes of this podcast and legal alerts. And finally, be sure to subscribe to this podcast to be notified when our next episode posts. Thanks for listening.